Welcome to Real Success with Steve Dennis. You are now tuned in to another episode of Real Success. This is the podcast where we share inspiring stories based on relationships, encouragement, attitude, and the leading of self. We're so glad you can join us. And now, here's your host, Steve Dennis.
Well, hello, my friends, and thank you so much for joining me on this episode today with Real Success with Steve Dennis. And I'm extremely excited to come to you today to share this particular lesson because what I basically have done, currently we're in the month of August of 2020, and if you're anywhere in the world, you know that we've been under a global pandemic since around March. And so in my field of work, a lot of the things that I do has been from home. But recently a company has contacted me, and of course we're practicing social distancing and we're wearing the mask. And so I'm actually training a total of 21 leaders, and I'm taking 2 days, a Tuesday and a Thursday, to train and to kind of take the group and to divide them up. So I have 10 on one day and about 11 or so on the next day. So what I decided to do, it's been a real wonderful joy and an opportunity to be back in that vein again as far as live trainings. And again, just along with the same aspect of practicing all the precautions. At the same time, I want to share with you today, because I've been with this company for the past 2 weeks and have another, 4 weeks left with them. And I'm going to just basically pull from the vault of trainings, leadership trainings that I've been doing with this company to share on my podcast. So I'm excited about that. And I believe it's going to really be a value add for you, my listeners who are listening to this. And you're going to be able to walk away from these episodes over the next few weeks with some things you can actually apply to your life. So please continue to join me on these episodes, because I know without a doubt, hey, I'm going to add some value to you, okay? And give you some stuff and share some tools and tips and techniques with you that you can instantly apply in every area of your life, okay? Here's what I know. And again, after 2 weeks, I've been seeing the results of this with these leaders I've been working with. You're going to hear something that you can apply instantly with your family as well as in your professional life. So I'm just so excited. That's enough talking for now. Let's go ahead and dive in, okay? So today's subject with this episode today is literally defining moments that defined your leadership, okay? Recognizing those defining moments that define your leadership. And I'm excited about this subject matter because as a leader, as an influencer, each and every one of us have had defining moments. My job today is not to share with you something you don't know. My role today is to give you something that you already know, but to help you to become aware of it. And after you become aware of it, to frame it and to have a different perspective on a defining moment in your life that defined your leadership. It has been said, and I love this statement I'm about to share with you because it is so very, very, very true. It has been said that, that oftentimes it is the choices that you and I have made in times of history, okay, in times of crisis, rather. It has been the choices that we made in the times of a crisis or a challenge that literally define us and shape our leadership. And oh, how true, my friend. Think about that statement for a moment. It is the choices that we have made in times of crisis or challenge that define us and that shape our leadership. And oh, if we had the time, we could literally take a deeper dive into that statement. And really, when you look at what leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. And when you look at your leadership, Think about those moments in your life that you made a choice right slap dab in the middle of a crisis or a challenge that defined you. And not only did it define you, but it also shaped your leadership. No matter what your age was, that moment literally did that. It defined you. That moment, it shaped your leadership. And again, I have many stories that are just racing through my mind right now, and I'm having to slow down enough as I'm talking to you on this episode to actually extract and to pull just one example or one story from my many that are flowing through my mind right now, because again, we're talking about influence. We're talking about your leadership. We're talking about choices that you and I have made. And when we made those choices, they defined us and they shaped our leadership. And I think one for me was the day that again, you've heard my story before, that my father was 61 years old when I was born. And by the time I was 15, he had Alzheimer's. You've heard it before. I just love sharing it because it kind of just flows off my tongue, as you can tell. But I think one moment that really shaped me as a leader, my mom and we worked together at a restaurant. And my father's sickness had already been going on for about a good, close to a year. And Mom one Saturday walked into my bedroom one Saturday morning, and she was real disturbed because of how challenging it was to work with my dad without the proper professional help. And she asked me, she said, babe, I don't know how long I can keep doing this. What do you think? Other family members are saying to place him in a nursing home. And I never in my life will forget this. I said, Mom, I really don't want Dad to go into a nursing home. I said, I believe we can pull together. I believe we can work at keeping him here. We'll just get other people around us to help us. And sure enough, after I said that to my mom, I'm her son. But literally, after I said those words to her, it's almost like it gave her some hope. And she said, okay, we'll do it. Let's do it together. And so literally, we rallied people around us. We had neighbors. There's some people in my life that I grew up around. And all three young ladies who they're like sisters of mine. And all of them, I to this day, we're all adults. But when I see them, I always walk up to them and I thank them, because I still remember how, and again, they were not kin to me, but they would always chip in and to help to keep an eye on my father until either another family member got off work and could watch him and that kind of thing. And we did that for 4 years up until my father's death on May 30th, 1985. But my whole point is simply this. It all started because that choice in the midst of that challenge, it shaped me. It was a choice that shaped me and also defined me, and it helped to also shape my leadership as a teenager to move forward. Okay, and so again, we've all had defining moments. Okay, we all have, and those defining moments literally define your leadership. Okay, so I'm going to give you today at least 2 moments. In the next episode, I will share with you 2 more. 2 moments that literally define you and I, and at the same time, they help to shape our leadership. Some defining moments. Number 1, some defining moments are what we called groundbreakers. Groundbreakers. And those groundbreakers are moments that literally took you into an area that you had never been in before. They're groundbreakers. Groundbreakers are when you have dealt with a personal failure. And it's an area that you go into that you've never really been in before. It's a groundbreaker. Here's an example for me. I was a juvenile. I worked at a youth detention center for 5 years. But the groundbreaker for me was when I literally got the promotion, got the job to become a juvenile probation officer. That was a new area, a new particular ground to walk into and or to start in. Okay, and so and so when I got that job in particular, that was a groundbreaking moment. It took me in an area I had never been in before. Now, why do I mention that? Oftentimes we face a personal failure because you know as well as I do, failure literally happens to be, the companion to success. Okay, and so what I mean there is that when I got that job as a juvenile probation officer, within the first 6 months, I literally had some failures. I had some moments where I wasn't doing good. Primarily, here we go, especially with the paperwork. Okay. So it was a groundbreaking moment. Okay. But at the very same time, it was a defining moment for me. A lot of things during that time frame, in that groundbreaking moment, I learned some things about myself that I did not know previously. So they are defining moments. And again, we call these defining moments groundbreakers. Number two, the second type some defining moments are heartbreakers. They are heartbreakers. There are those moments where they were moments when I realized that things are just not going so well. They're heartbreakers. And we've all had them, haven't we? We've had those heartbreaking moments. Okay. I tell the story oftentimes where a heartbreaker for me was when I was starting my business in 2009 and getting some contracts and going out sharing and teaching and facilitating. And on the surface, I was appearing to be a public success. But the heartbreaker for me was at home with my teenage son. I wasn't doing so well. My method of influencing with him was not connecting so well. There was a heartbreaking day when I got the news that he was just really fed up with life. Heartbreaking moment that literally challenged me to redefine. And again, that situation literally did the same thing as I shared earlier. It was a crisis or a challenge that defined me and shaped my leadership. I had to go, after I had what I call a heart talk with my son, I had to make some choices and some decisions about change. In other words, my friend, as a leader, you know as well as I do, I cannot ask someone else to change if I'm not willing to make some changes myself, because leadership is influence, right? And everything literally rises and falls on that influence. And so that heartbreaking moment also defined me. That heartbreaking moment shaped my leadership. Here's how I did it. Because after I had this heart talk with my son, how I basically ended that session was by upping the ante on accountability. I said to my son, I said, Jonathan, I'm going to ask you, we're going to have another meeting next month and over the next few weeks. I'm going to let you know, son. I'm going to ask you in about a month, what are some of the primary lessons that you have learned or you're learning from my life? And sure enough, about a month and a half later, we did that. We sat down and talked, had a long discussion, and he literally had been keeping notes on my life. And he said to me, Dad, one of the most powerful lessons I've learned from watching your life is that you are literally practicing that principle that you teach on not taking anything personal. And again, that episode, that event, that redefining moment, that defining moment that defined my leadership, that was another moment that came from a heartbreaker. But when I talk to you next time, I'm going to talk to you about cloud breakers, okay? I just gave you an appetizer. We'll talk about cloud breakers, okay? But here's my whole point. It redefined it, and it allowed me to move forward with my leadership. Now, real quickly, I got something I want to share with you as I prepare to close this episode. That I shared it with the leaders that I'm training, and it went over so big, and I want to share it with you as well. This is a wonderful way to end this particular episode, and I can assure you, give me about 3 more minutes and you're going to get a lot of value from what I'm about to share right now. Brian Dyson, the former vice president and COO of Coca-Cola, actually shared this particular story during a keynote that he was given to a group of graduates. And he said this at the last part of his speech, and I think it's so powerful. And I shared it with the leaders over the past couple of weeks. He said, imagine life as a game in which you are juggling some 5 balls in the air. You're juggling 5 balls in the air. And you named them. You named these 5 balls that you're juggling in the air. Number 1, the first ball is work. The second ball is family. The third ball is health. The fourth ball is friends. And the fifth ball is spirit. And you're keeping all of these balls in the air all at one time. And you will soon understand. But later on, as you're keeping these balls in the air, you will soon understand that work is a rubber ball. If you drop it, work, it will bounce back. But the other 4 balls, family, health, friends, and spirit, are made of glass. And if you drop one of these, they would be irrevocably scuffed, marked, nicked, damaged, or even shattered. They will never be the same. You must understand that, my friend. Listen to me as a leader. Listen to me as an influencer. You must understand that and strive for balance in your life. Because all 5 of these balls, you know as well as I do, they will literally help you and I to redefine, to have those redefining moments that literally defined your influence and your leadership. This has been Steve Dennis with Real Success with Steve Dennis. I thank you so very much for being a part of this episode, and I cannot wait to be with you again on next week. Be well.
Thanks for joining us this week. Be sure to visit the website at www.steveadennis.com. You can follow on Facebook and Instagram. Please subscribe to the podcast via Facebook, YouTube, and Spotify at stevedennis1.podbean.com. Be sure to tune in every Wednesday for new episodes. Thank you so much for listening. See you on the next episode.